Welcome back once again to another episode of Ray's Commentary. I am your guy, Ray. And first and foremost, once again, I'd like to thank Travis and Chris for allowing me to give my input on this subject, on this conversation. And second, the conversation itself. The top movies in 10 different categories of the 80s. I mean, the categories, you got comedy, you got adventure, you got fantasy, you got action, you got dance, sci-fi, horror, drama, Western. I'm going to be honest. I didn't watch too many Westerns. I can't even remember a Western. So we might not get a Western movie for this category. If I think of one or if I come across one and I want to see it and watch it, I'll come back later and give you my thoughts on it. And the last category is martial arts. So let's think about this, right? The 80s. Everything was good in the 80s. TV was good. Music was good. Cartoon was good. Movies were good. Life in general was good, especially for a kid in the 80s. We grew up we had the best of everything. We didn't know sometimes we didn't know some of us were struggling, but it didn't matter. You came home and you watched TVs or you went outside and played and had good toys, or like I said, good movies. And that's what we're here to talk about today. Movies of the 80s and in certain categories. The best movie, in my opinion, in each category. And the first category we're going to start with is comedy, right? So when you think of comedy, there's a lot of good movies. The 80s put out a lot of good comedy movies. I mean, there's not a bad choice. But for me, the best comedy movie in the 80s starred one of the funniest people of the 80s. Coming from that whole Saturday Night Live cast, you had Dan Aykroyd, you had a host of others, but this one guy, Eddie Murphy, Coming to America. Oh my goodness. This movie was great. Eddie played so many different characters. Arsenio Hall played so many different characters. A guy coming from Africa to find his bride in America, and just as soon as the plane landed, it was just comedy. It was great. So without me talking too much, let's just go look at the preview of the movie.
Good morning, Your Highness.
We've selected for you a very fine wife.
So, what kind of music do you like?
Whatever kind of music you like.
Do you have a favorite food?
Whatever food you like.
Fine girl, isn't she?
Why can't I find my own wife? I want a woman that's going to arouse my intellect as well as my loins.
Where will you find such a woman?
Queens. No one here can know I am royalty. You must appear to be no different than the average man.
I will not say a word.
We require a room that is very poor.
Damn shame what they did to that dog.
We will take the room. Good morning, my neighbors! I am Akeem.
It's nice to meet you, Akeem.
What are you going to do, mop your way into her heart?
We got an extra ticket for the game tomorrow. Wanna come?
Yes. I have a date. Isn't that wonderful? This is beautiful. What is that, velvet? Check the chocolate. He good. Oh my goodness, it is you.
This is the greatest day of my life.
It was very nice meeting you two.
Who was that?
Just the man I met in the restroom. Can you make my hair look like this?
What you want to make your hair look like that for? Wear a natural like Dr. Martin Luther King did. You ain't never seen Dr. Martin Luther King with no messy Jerry curl on. So glow.
Like I said, man, the 80s was just full of good movies, and from that movie in particular, you can't pick a bad scene in that movie. Like so many iconic lines, so many iconic scenes from this movie. It was a great movie. One of my favorite movie, my best comedy movie of the 80s. We're gonna leave comedy now. We're gonna go to the category of adventure. And you can categorize adventure in many different ways. So many different movies in that category as well. But my favorite movie, and when I pull up this movie, I want to say this. Most of the times when movies come out and they make sequels, the original was always the best. And the original Batman, to me, was the best Batman movie they ever made. They should have stopped right there. Nothing against the sequels, but this movie was the best movie. Michael Keaton was the best Batman. You had Jack Nicholson playing Joker, the iconic role he played. I mean, he just set Joker off. The soundtrack to this movie was great. I mean, this movie all around the best Batman movie. I personally think they should have stopped with the first one, but they didn't. But again, let's look at some clips from that movie.
Vicky Vale.
Bruce Wayne.
And what do you do for a living?
Lieutenant, is there a 6-foot bat in Gotham City?
Nice outfit.
You look fine.
I didn't ask. I have given a name to my pain.
What are you?
I'm Batman. Where does he get those wonderful toys?
My life is really complex.
Winged freak terrorizes. Wait till they get a load of me.
Yeah. Again, with movies from the 80s, so many iconic lines, so many iconic scenes. And one of the best things about this movie was the soundtrack. I think this might have been the first soundtrack from a movie that came into my house. Prince, outstanding job for this soundtrack. All around great movie. Again, the best Batman they ever made. On to our next category. And before I move on, once again, the 80s, but especially the late 80s, 87, 88, 89, put out some great movies, right? And moving on to the fantasy movie. I call this movie a fantasy because I don't think it could happen in real life. But big Tom Hanks, a guy who well, it was a kid who went to this machine and he just wanted to be an adult. He just wanted to be a grown up, and he wished, and he woke up an adult. And the the fun things that went on. I mean, he got a job at a toy company. Come on, that's as a kid, that might be your dream job. All you did was play with toys and review toys. And he, I guess, experienced teenage love and heartbreak because he fell in love. And then he still had his best friend to guide him through all that. And it was fun. That was a good movie. Again, the movies on this list I picked are movies that when they come on TV, they rerun them now. I watch them no matter how many times I've seen them. That's how you know it's an iconic movie. You know every line, you know every word, you know every scene, and you will still watch it every time it comes on, right? And let's move on to our next category, action movies, right? Again, the 80s put out so many good action movies. Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Willis, action movies galore, right? But my favorite action movie of the 80s actually came out in 1985. I was 8 years old, but to this day, if this movie is on TV, I'm watching it. Commando, right? All this man wanted was his daughter back. They kidnapped this man's daughter, and what he went through to go get her back was great. It was it was a good movie. One of my favorite Schwarzenegger movies. Of course, I had a little kitty crush on Ray Don Chong, so that was a plus. Um, this movie was great. I want to put it right up there with the first Predator, but that's running a tight race with me right now between Predator and this movie. But this edges it out because I just love this movie. We're going to go to dance, the next category. Now a lot of people probably haven't seen this movie. I know I have in my neck of the woods. It was a good movie. The 80s was when rap was coming out, and along with rap, we had breakdancing. And when this movie came out, breaking, I mean, every kid in my neighborhood wanted to pop lock, moonwalk, spin on his back, spin on his head, everything. I mean, in this movie, the guy actually danced with a broom, like he got the broom moving. Right? It was a great movie. All they were just trying to raise money to, I think, get a community center back going or whatever. But it was this movie just personified breakdancing, and like I said, it had everybody, at least in my neighborhood, thinking they was a breakdancer. Even the wild outfits, because the 80s, we had some loud clothes back in the 80s. So we it was just a great movie. Again, another movie that no matter if it's on, what channel it's on, what time it's on, if I catch it, I'm watching it. So moving on to the next category, we're gonna go to sci-fi. And if this is not your favorite sci-fi movie, then I don't know what is. Back to the Future. I mean, again, iconic lines, iconic scenes, iconic car, iconic soundtrack. This movie had everything. It had a little bit of comedy, a little bit of drama. Imagine going back to the future, right? Going back in time and meeting your parents, seeing how they met each other, meeting, seeing how they came up, and meeting your parents as teenagers, and meeting your father, and seeing how he met your mother and how that all transpired. It's weird. And almost falling in love with your mother. It's kind of weird. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, as a matter of fact, uh, I would say, as far as movies with sequels, Back to the Future was the best. The original one was the best Back to the Future in that series. Like I said, when movies come out and they have sequels, 9 times out of 10, the original one is always the best one. So sci-fi, my favorite movie in that category is Back to the Future. Moving on to horror, right? So horror. That was a great time in the 80s for horror movies. You had Friday the 13th, you had Poltergeist, you had uh, um, Halloween. So many iconic horror movies. And a lot of people might not remember this one. But my favorite horror movie of the 80s was Christine. This guy sold his dream car. It looked like a, a trash heap, right? But he found it, he fixed it together, and it just became a monster. Like that car literally scared the hell out of me. And let's not keep talking about it. Let's watch a preview from it.
She is seductive. She is passionate. She is possessive. She is pure evil. She is Christine, a 1958 Plymouth Fury, possessed by hell. Her previous owner is not alive to warn her present one. Once she lures you behind the wheel, you will be hers, body and soul. There is no place you can hide, no place you can run, and nothing you can do can stop her. Because how do you kill something that can't possibly be alive? Christine. Body by Plymouth. Soul by Satan.
I mean, scared the heck out of me as as a kid, this movie came out in 1983. I was 6 years old. I probably didn't see it in the movie theater. I don't remember seeing it in the movie theater, but I think my first time seeing this movie was on HBO. And man, I was afraid of old cars. There was a car like this a few blocks over. It wasn't this exact car, but it was a car like this, and that car terrified the hell out of me. Yeah, that movie. Yeah, I was a fan of Jason, fan of Freddy Krueger, great horror movies, but this one right here, yeah, that did it. On to the next category. The next category is drama. My favorite movie in that category. I mean, this movie. I'm a big fan of this guy musically. As a kid, I wanted to grow up and play in this band, but Purple Rain, the most iconic movie made by a musician, I believe. It was a great drama. It showed what he went through in his home life, trying to start his career, trying to get his band off the ground, and playing in clubs and trying to get recognized all over. It brought us the great Apollonia and the Apollonia 6. I mean, the movie was just great. The soundtrack also, the Purple Rain album, one of the best albums ever made, bar none. I don't know what other movie drama will even come close to this. To me, like I said, the 80s had a good run of movies in every category. You can't go wrong. But to me, my favorite movie in this category is Purple Rain. Now, the next category is martial arts. And again, martial arts in the 80s, everybody wanted to take a karate class. Everybody wanted to be Bruce Lee, Jun Ree, anything. My favorite movie in the martial arts genre, and again, you had Jean-Claude Van Damme. You had Steven Seagal. You had I'm drawing a blank on his name, Walker Texas Ranger. I can't remember his real name, but all those guys, right? But this movie right here, man, oh man, Bloodsport, what? Going to compete in that tournament when he wasn't supposed to, and they did everything they could to stop that one guy, and I don't know who was not trying to do that leg split in the chest. Like, I tried it, I did it once, it hurt like hell. I don't ever want to do it again. I don't think I can do it again. But Frank Dukes, Bloodsport, competing in the Kumite, one of my this is my favorite martial art movie. Like I said, you can't go wrong with any choice, any movie you pick from that genre in this time period. But for me, it was Bloodsport. Let's check it out.
For centuries, the Society of the Black Dragon has sanctioned an ancient rite of combat known as the Kumite, open only to the world's most lethal warriors. It has never been won by a Westerner.
You are not Japanese. I can do it.
Now, for the first time, the true story of America's super agent, Frank Dukes, can be revealed.
Uncle Sam can't afford to let you get hurt.
I'm going to Hong Kong.
Frank is going to fight in the Kumite, and we're here to stop him.
An awesome human weapon.
It hurts me just looking at it.
Who infiltrates the Chinese underworld.
I did not come this far to stop now.
Take him.
To enter a forbidden competition.
Couldn't you just get me in?
Strict rules, no press.
You telling me you never break rules?
Where every fighting style, every worthy opponent, every deadly technique clash in savage combat.
Time to separate the men from the boys.
And only one will triumph.
Now I break you.
International martial arts sensation Jean-Claude Van Damme in Bloodsport, the true story of the ultimate champion.
Yeah, Bloodsport, man, my favorite martial arts movie of all time. Like I said, you can't go wrong with any movie you pick in this genre. There were a lot of them, a lot of great ones. But for me, this was the movie. You had every martial art or discipline on display, every fighting style, even styles I hadn't even seen. I mean, in 1988, I'm 11 years old. I only know one style, and I think it's karate. I didn't know about all these other fighting styles. I mean, you see this, man, it was just great. Yeah, my favorite movie in that genre, Bloodsport. Jean-Claude Van Damme. And what's funny is he's not my favorite martial arts actor, but he's in my favorite martial arts movie. So yeah, Bloodsport, that is the movie. So there's supposed to be 10 categories. I left one out. Western. I honestly don't even remember. I remember seeing Young Guns, but I don't remember it enough to call it my favorite Western, and I haven't seen enough Western movies from that time period to have a favorite Western movie of the 80s. So I'm not going to even pick one, but I'm sure if I go out and research it and look and have time to watch a lot of Western movies from the 80s, I could pick one. But I don't have one as of right now. But I will tell you this, and I will leave you with this. The best movie of the 80s, no matter the genre, no matter if it was 81, 82, 83, no matter, the best movie of the 80s, hands down, without a shadow of a doubt, Scarface. That movie right there is the greatest movie of all time. You had a little bit of comedy. Tony Montana was a little funny. You had adventure. You had action. In that club scene, you had a little bit of dance, albeit 80s dance, and that genre is quite funny. You had horror because Tony was cutting people with chainsaws. Like I say, you I don't think you had any martial arts, but I mean, you didn't need it. It was a great movie. Everybody wanted to be Scarface. Again, every time I've seen this movie from start to finish so many times, I can't even count. It is the greatest movie of all time. Um, Again, another movie that if it comes on, I don't care how many times I've seen it, I will watch it. And that's what I think makes a great movie. Like we've all seen a lot of movies. We all watch a lot of the same movies over and over again because they were that good. And that to me is what makes a great movie. If you can watch it no matter how many times you've seen it, and you can continuously watch it no matter how many times it comes on, that is a great movie. I have this movie on 3 different DVDs. I have this movie on VHS. I've had this movie. I think I can't remember if my folks had it on Betamax, but yeah, I still have this movie on DVD. I have the anniversary edition, I have the Blu-ray edition, and I have just the regular edition. My favorite movie of all time, the greatest movie ever made, hands down. Period. Yeah. So again, I'd like to thank Travis and Chris for allowing me to give my opinions. My top movies in 10 different categories: Coming to America in comedy, Batman in adventure, Big in fantasy, Commando in action, Breaking, the original Breaking in dance, Back to the Future in sci-fi, Christine in horror, Purple Rain in drama, Bloodsport and martial arts. My top movies, like them. If you haven't seen them, I can't imagine if you haven't seen any movie on this list. But if you haven't, please go back and watch, especially Christine. I think that's a sleeper horror movie. I don't think a lot of people even remember that movie, but go back and watch it. You won't be disappointed. Once again, thanks again, Chris and Travis, for having me. And this has been Ray's Commentaries.